Hey, it's John from Electric Copy. Welcome to part 2 of my Snaptivity copy breakdown, where we are working on improving the website copy of this new and very original technology product. And in this video, we're going to be going through the how it works section of the homepage. So let's scroll down and have a look at the rest of the site. Now this banner here, actually we're just going to ignore it because this is kind of a temporary coronavirus banner. This copy does have some of its own problems, but it's not really relevant to the rest of the site. So we'll just ignore that and move on. Okay, now we have this section here, which is kind of like a how it works section. And when we're going through this, I want to highlight again how making copy more specific can really make the whole messaging a lot more clear and a lot more compelling. And we're going to see that in every section that we have here. But let's start with this headline and sort of secondary introduction here. Now, this is very much a kind of like business benefit focused subheading and introduction here, and it's really focused on the business benefits and outcome of the technology. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is a good place to put that kind of message. My problem is that it's a little bit too, it's arguably a little bit too business jargony, and most importantly, it's not specific enough about how Snaptivity actually achieves any of this. So let's start with this headline here. Now we have this kind of marketing jargon, sponsorship activation. I believe that basically just means exposure. It's just kind of a fancy way of saying the moment that people experience the brand. That's the moment of sponsorship activation. So it really just means exposure. But it's a kind of fancy marketing jargon way to say that. Now, I don't have any problem with them using this term because this even though the average person wouldn't understand this term, this website isn't aimed at the average person. It's aimed at people in marketing who probably would understand this. But my problem with this line is the word transform, because the word transform could mean to make something better. It could also mean to make something worse, or it could mean just to change it in a way that's kind of neutral, but it just makes it something different. So it's not very helpful to us. It doesn't really tell us anything positive, whereas we really want to sell here. We want to hype this technology up. So we need to change this into something that makes it clear that this is a positive transformation. So I've changed the headline to reflect that, and now we have increase your sponsorship activation. Okay, now we're a little bit more clear about what's happening. But we always want to add a bit more hype and make things, add a bit more energy to our copy to really hype people up. So I would suggest we go with something even stronger and say maximize your sponsorship activation. So I mean, the headline is, it's still a bit more, it's a bit more kind of conceptual and marketing jargon than I would like, but let's go with it for now because, we'll assume that the audience that we're talking to really cares about their sponsorship activation, and this is the kind of business language that they might use themselves. So we'll keep going with this headline for now. How can we improve this second line here? Well, as I mentioned earlier on, the problem is it's not very specific. It's telling me that I reach fans at scale in a targeted, emotional, and personalized way, but it doesn't tell me really how it does that. And that's a problem because some people might read the description elsewhere on the site and kind of join the dots themselves and figure out how it helps them reach fans at scale. But we don't want our audience to figure out everything themselves. We want to just make everything crystal clear for them so they don't have to think. And here is how I would do that. I would just add this part at the end here that says, when fans share your branded photos online. Now they know exactly how they're reaching fans at scale with this technology. Okay, we have roughly the same problem here. Extend your reach and sponsorship lifetime value with brand dynamic overlays. It's not very specific about what's happening. And in fact, on this occasion, I think brand dynamic overlays is bad use of jargon. I believe that brand dynamic overlays refers to this thing here, where you can actually superimpose graphics over the photos, as you see in the picture here. But to me, that's kind of like graphic design jargon, and I think even a lot of marketers wouldn't understand that. So let's get rid of that and just add something that's a little bit more tangible. Okay, so I've done that by just adding by getting rid of that jargon and just adding something at the end which is a bit more kind of plain speaking. So now we're saying extend your reach and sponsorship lifetime value by reaching fans even after the event ends. The only thing that I think is wrong with this now is that we have the word reach here and then we have it here and here. So we're saying reach 3 times, which, it's not the end of the world, but it does kind of reduce the impact of our copy, and it can make it a little bit confusing. So I think we can solve that by getting rid of this first mention of reach here. Maybe we don't need to say that it extends their reach, and it'll be enough just to say we're extending their sponsorship lifetime value. Okay, and now we've made the copy a little bit shorter as well. All right, so now I think that's doing a pretty good job of making this section more specific and more clear. As a final thought, even though we've now made this a little bit more plain speaking and we've kind of joined the dots a bit more for our audience, it's still a little bit more conceptual than I would like. So let's look at one more headline option that could make this a bit more down to earth and direct. Okay, and here's how I would do that. I would change this subheading to help fans relive incredible sporting moments. So we're being a bit more plain speaking, but we're very much getting across, what the unique experience that this technology provides is. And, this subheadline still ties in nicely with what they're saying in the body copy here. So let's have a look at these 6 kind of subsections down here. Now, again, we have the same problem that really the copy here isn't very specific. And I want to talk to you about subheadings and how to write good subheadings that make it very easy for people to kind of scan, read the site, find the information that they need. So let's have a look at that. Subheadings are important because people will look at them when they're scanning through a page. And that means that every subheading we write is important because it gives us an opportunity to grab the attention of the reader and keep them reading. And in order to do that, our subheadings need to do one of 2 things, in my opinion. They need to either explain how the product works, or they need to entice the reader to read on by hinting at a benefit that we know they're interested in. So let's have a look at the copy again and see how we can change the subheadings to reflect that. Okay, so if we come back to the website here and have another look at these subheadings, we can see that none of them are really educating or enticing us. They are trying to tell us something with words like engage and targeting, but we don't know who or what is being engaged or how. We don't know who is being targeted or what is doing the targeting. So they're just not specific enough to really be meaningful to us. So let's see how we can change these subheadings to really grab the reader, and let's see how we can make sure that each little section here has a coherent story being told by the subheading and the body copy. Now, if we look at this first one here, the story being told is not really how it works. The story being told is really about how Snaptivity takes photos of the crowd. So we need to actually update this subheading to reflect that. So what I'm going to do is, instead of how it works, I'm going to change it to capture crowd excitement. So this is a kind of subheading that's really about educating us as to how Snaptivity works. And the first thing it does in this whole process is capture these photos. So now we're educating people more on what's actually happening here. Now, if we look at the body copy, my one major criticism of this is that it's got this term sensory networks, which seems to me it's jargon, but it's more like engineering jargon. And I'm not sure that marketing people would really understand it. And this website is aimed at marketing people, I think. So we need to get rid of this jargon here. The other thing is, this story is about how the technology captures photos of the crowd, and because of that, I think it needs to reflect one of the kind of unique selling points of this technology, which is that it captures the photos just at the right moment. So let's see if we can change this body copy to reflect that. Boom, here we have it. Snaptivity's AI sensors detect when the action is peaking and use robotic cameras to capture high energy fan reactions. Okay, so we don't have any confusing jargon in there, and we're telling them how it captures the photos, while also explaining this unique selling point that they detect, that the technology detects when the action is peaking. Okay, so let's move on to the next one down here. Now we come to this second one here, and this is this one is one of the most challenging, and it's kind of hard to figure out what they're talking about. They mention engage, but it's not totally clear how or why or who's being engaged. But the body copy seems to be talking about engaging the audience. So I think what this is actually trying to get across is that you can use Snaptivity's existing data and existing photos and content to persuade or interest the audience at the events to actually download the app and start using it to access their photos. Now, if you think about it, this is a really important point to get across, because we haven't actually mentioned so far that there is an app. But we do have this nice big picture of a phone with an app in the middle of the page, and the app is actually a key part of this technology, and it also the app is what the fans use to actually engage with this system. So it's really, really important that we get that across. So I'm going to change both of these to try and get that point across more clearly. So this is how I would change this one. We've changed the subheading to engage event attendees, and then the body copy, as you see here, integrate Snaptivity's API with your own channels and show candid content that entices attendees to download the free Snaptivity mobile app. So again, this is a subheading that is about explaining how it works, and we're making it very clear that we're giving we're helping the event attendees to actually engage with this technology by downloading an app. We do still have a bit of jargon in here. API. I think a lot of marketers actually know what an API is, so we can get away with using that jargon. But even if we don't, I've written the rest of the copy in a way that still explains in a relatively down to earth way what actually happens here. Okay, so as we move down the page here, we have this section on targeting. The problem here, though, is that we haven't so far in this website seen anything about targeting. So it's not totally clear who is being targeted or how. But I think what they're talking about is that when people at the event are using the app to find their photos, the venue can also show them additional advertising inside the app or additional branding inside the app, which is kind of what you're seeing here in this photo in the middle. So I think what it means is, let's say I'm at an Arsenal game and I'm an Arsenal supporter. They can show me adverts of where I can buy the Arsenal clothes, for example, or if I'm a Chelsea fan at the Arsenal event, I'll see ads that are related to Chelsea. So that's what it's talking about, but it's not very clear from the copy here. So let's see how we can rework it. Okay, boom. Here we have some new copy. And what I've done here is I've been careful to be very clear about where people would see this tailored advertising. So even in the subheading, we're making it very clear that it's in the app. And then when we go down to the body copy, we're specifically saying this is something that fans see when they use the app to view the photos. So really, there can be no confusion about when people would see this tailored advertising. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Okay, so in this section here, we have the subheading content generating engine. Again, this is kind of technical jargon that doesn't really explain anything or entice us with a benefit. But the story being told here seems to be about how every fan gets a photo with themselves in the center, which is a pretty cool feature of this technology. But this copy is a little bit misleading because it says that every fan receives his or her photos, which sounds almost like the technology is sending them the photo, which I believe is not the case. But one of the things that's interesting about this is it's something that fans actually engage with and they actually interact with through the app. So I think we need to use this section to make it clear that fans actually take action themselves to find the photos, but it's something that it's easy for them to do. So let's see how we can rework this to say that. Okay, so here we go. We're changing this one to make photo finding easy. Every fan can put their seat number into the app to see exhilarating photos with themselves in the center. So now it's very, very clear that this is something that fans actually have to do themselves. And so we have a subheading that is now educating. And we're also making sure we're still explaining this very unique feature that every fan gets a picture with themselves in the middle. Okay, so in this section here, we have the subheadline dynamic filters and then body copy telling us about how the photos are dynamically overlaid with information and branding. Now, again, we're kind of having, we have jargon in the subheading here, which again, it's not really educating us or enticing us. And the thing about this section is, the interesting thing about this isn't the name of the technology here. The interesting thing about this is that the venue can add whatever they want to every photo and it will be automatically displayed in every photo that the fans download. So that's what we need to shout about in the subheading and in the body copy here. So let me have a look at how we can do that. All right, and this is how we're going to do it. The subheading is just going to say add branding to photos. So we're being very direct, very simple, and it's very easy to see what story is being told here. And then in the body copy, I haven't changed it too much, but I've just made it very clear that this is all done automatically. So the people reading this know that this information is added to each photo, and nobody has to do any manual photoshopping. It's all done by the system. We still have this word in here, which is kind of jargon, I admit, but at least it's a word that's kind of self-explanatory. It's an overlay, so it's something that's laid over. So hopefully that still makes sense. Okay, on to the final one, exposure. Okay, so on this last one here, we have exposure. And here we have this lovely stat that I mentioned earlier on. Now, this body copy is actually written reasonably well, so I don't think we need to change much here. But again, the subheading is not enticing us to read this lovely stat here. So I want to change this to something that will hopefully grab our audience's attention by hinting at a benefit we know they care about. So let's just change this to maximize brand exposure. Now hopefully that makes it a lot a lot more enticing to venues that are interested in getting their sponsors brand more exposure. So hopefully that's going to hook people to read this last little section here. Okay, let's move on down the page. Okay, that's the end of part 2. The third and final part of this video is coming up next, so keep watching and don't forget to subscribe.